Greetings, hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome to DevChatter. Hopefully all this stuff's working. Hey, it is, cool. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever it is in the world where you are. Hopefully you're having a great day. I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. So, for those of you who are new, my name is Brendan. This channel here is DevChatter, and we are an awesome community of developers who like building fun stuff together. We are... Let's see, this is episode 199, which is absolutely crazy. The stream has been going since last year sometime, so we've been going over a year. We have built a lot of cool stuff in that time. We have worked on the chat bot that runs here in the Twitch chat. Obviously, it does some overlay. We built some games for it. Not everything's turned on right now, but we have built some fun things together. It's been interesting to explore the architecture of how that works, see how we connect to Twitch, and do all that kind of fun interactive stuff. So that was an enjoyable thing. Lately, we've been working on a project called our DevStreams community site. I'm not going to work on that one today, but I am going to get back to that one soon because I want to get it complete out the door and launched in some capacity so that people can use it to help find other live coding streams that they'd be interested in. I think it's going to be an awesome way to, apply, essentially, get some kind of taxonomy around these channels so that they can be found even when they're not live, and you can find what types of content these streamers like to build. So here on our channel, we do mostly stuff in C# and JavaScript. For the most part, it's .NET Core. We've done a lot of stuff with Vue and other interesting things like that. So if you are someone that keeps up with .NET Core, you've probably heard that .NET Core 3... Hey! Welcome, Robert Tables and friends. So I was just giving my intro on what's going on here on the stream today. And what I was talking about is, I'm going to get to the project that we're going to build today, but I was mentioning that .NET Core 3 actually lets us build WPF and WinForms applications using .NET Core, I should say. So really, really cool stuff because we don't have to use full framework anymore. So welcome everyone. So if you are someone that uses .NET Core, likes that it's lightweight, fast, and all in all, a good future for .NET. So I'm happy about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with WPF. Hey, Robert Tables, welcome. Welcome, Robert Tables and friends. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. We are just getting started. I'm doing my intro. So you haven't missed anything yet. We're going to do some cool stuff on stream today. I need to get some programs running so that we can see those. But let me catch up on chat for a moment, and I will explain what it is we're doing today. Link, Slumps, and S&B, welcome. Glad to see you're here. Yes, we're on episode 199 of DevChatter. Our next episode will be our 200th episode of this stream. And yes, we're going to be doing some WPF and .NET Core 3 today. With a program that actually accesses the memory of another running program, which is totally crazy. And if you're waiting for the really crazy part, I give Twitch chat the ability to control what changes. So really crazy stuff, quite awesome. The Michael Jolly, welcome. You have not actually missed those streams. So if you check the post where I said where I announced this stream, I really did say he's back for a reason. I've missed about 2 weeks worth of streams. I got a cold, got a sinus infection, and really wasn't able to talk very well. So I probably could have done my Thursday stream, but I just didn't feel like it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I'd missed a whole bunch, and I was like, oh geez, all right, I don't know that I want to jump back in just yet. So we waited until today. So that's the deal there. That's a fantastic question there. Can Wpf Apps run on Linux? And the answer to that is right now, no. So .NET Core 3 does run on Linux. The challenge is that because they have not made it so that there is essentially a translation of the UI that is used by WPF in order to make that, make it display on Windows, they have not done a Linux version of that. It doesn't. Now, in theory, someone could build just that piece, and you'd just be building the WPF pieces because the .NET Core code itself does run on Linux. So I would be watching for someone to do that kind of a thing. And yes, so S&B, one of the things that I do to make sure that there is some care taken when I give Twitch chat the control of memory in a program that's running on my computer, I don't use their inputs. Their inputs are used to decide what values on my side we're going to use, or if I am using their input, it's through a very specific filter of these values can become these other ones. So I try to be very, very safe about that so that no one runs into a problem there. So it's not really chat controlling the memory. Oh, good. I was just thinking, I haven't been getting any notification. Yeah, no. So, well, welcome back, the Michael Jolly. Nope, you have not missed the streams. Ryan Roberts, Cubs lover. Greetings. Hello. Yes, you can ask a question about recursion as long as I can ask you a question about recursion. Can I ask you a question about recursion? I was playing with DNC and WPF. Is layout transform not working? It looked to be in the design, but not one. Fuel stable. I'm not sure. I haven't tried. I have not messed with it yet in what I was doing. Exactly, Ryan. But if you actually had a real question about recursion, I would be glad to ask it. If it's just a joke question, then feel free to just ask, if you can ask a question about recursion a couple more times, and that'd be fine too. Because it felt loaded, so maybe you really did have a question. If you do, I'd be glad to answer it. All right, so talking about this program, I've actually already had to do the built-in version of .NET Core 3 in this app because I wanted to be able to send it to someone that doesn't have the .NET Core 3 runtime installed, because you got to remember it's in preview, so I don't want to like suggest that people install the preview in order to make this work. Did I not update that? Wait, what? Hang on. I apparently did not build. So I was working on this like a little bit ago. That's part of why we're working on this project, because I was recently working on it. Menu command takes 2. What did I add? Twitch. Oh yeah, I did remove that. That's legit. I removed that. Yeah, no, that test is correct. Yep, fixed. All right, hang on, everyone. Let me do a quick commit of the thing that I'm missing here. All right. Now I'm going to bring this onto the screen. So there we go. Discard that. Yeah, nope, that's right. Okay, cool. I have a couple of changes that are just convenient files that are located nearby that I have not, was not in there. A recursive function is one that in the body of the function calls itself. Yes, S&B, that is correct. Yep. Recursive function basically just means that it calls itself in some kind of way so that it continually runs that same method over and over again. If you are going to do recursion, anything with recursion ever, step 1, write the code that breaks you out of the recursion. So you don't just end up with a Stack Overflow. That's always step 1. Write that code first, then you can do the thing that actually, does the recursion and does the work. It's a good answer for that. But welcome, everyone. Here's what we've got. So I mentioned to you, if you read the description, anything like that, I mentioned that Final Fantasy VII is the game that we are modifying. So I'm going to go ahead and get that running in a window, and we're going to bring it up on the screen here. Let me see. Can I shrink it down? No, that's the smallest resolution it'll let me play with. That's annoying. Okay, so we're going to toss this up on the screen so you all can see the game, and we're going to get it running, and I'll show you what it does. Recursion program is usually referring, when you write a function that calls itself, you usually want a way to exit. Exactly, Fuel Stable. Yep. Step 1, if you're doing recursion, is make sure that you have a way of exiting the recursive calls. Ryan Roberts, you have another question on pointers. Ryan, I'd be glad to answer a question on pointers. What is the question? Which I will get to while Final Fantasy VII loads here. Okay, see if I can bring this onto the screen. Alright, so here's the game. This is Final Fantasy VII. It is an old game. I'm going to show you the current state of the code that we are working on. So this is it right here. There's a cool couple of things that are going on. And let me run our code as well so that I can show you what we do with it. So our little WPF app, don't worry about the design. I just kind of slapped some stuff on here. We've got just a handful of things on here. I've got some view models, we've got some value converters, all the standard stuff that you'd expect to find in a WPF application. And I'm going to go ahead and click connect. And it says connected, and you'll notice our chat bot has now said that Interactive 7 is live. So it just said that in the chat over there. And what that means is that chat now has control over this game. So, for example, if I were to say menu, sky blue, red, orange, and green, and then click in the program, you'll see that we now have sky blue, red, orange, and green as the colors inside of that menu. So, kinda neat. But in addition to that, we don't just have that kind of control, we also have, let's see, this kind of control. Let's see, and that. So that will change again. Did I mess up that? Was one of those not 6? Oh geez, one of those wasn't 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So now the colors have changed, and essentially we now have given chat control of the way that this works. Now I'm going to show you all how we do that, because it's actually kind of cool. Sorry, well, I actually did not get to Ryan's question. Base case is what it's so I know a variable holds a value that is either a string or a number, but why use a pointer? I know that pointers hold memory addresses. Why do I need to know the memory address? Oh, that's actually pretty easy, Ryan. So let's say, for example, I'll give you a quick explanation. So the value that is used for this character name, Cloud, is stored in one place inside of the game. So the idea being that then in any other part of this game, if it needs to display that name, we don't have to repeat the word Cloud in a whole bunch of variables. We don't have 100 variables with the value Cloud in it. By having a pointer to that location, we can tell anything else, hey, if you need to know the name of this character, just go look at this place. And so that's the idea, is they can all look up the same spot, and that's always the value Cloud. And so that's essentially what the idea is with a pointer. You can have one spot that stores the same value. So, for example, if I were wanting to change the name of that character, Cloud, over there, and Rubik's coming in with the 11-month resub. That is awesome. Hype indeed. I will, let's see, you love classes, have you done much with classes? Oh, yeah, staged games, exactly. In C#, a class by default is going to be a reference type, which means as you use that value, by default what's going to happen is any given method that you use, if it, say, takes in that class as a type, a variable type, what's going to happen is the variable's actually just going to be a pointer to the location in memory where that object is. So the idea is that if I have an object with a whole bunch of values, I don't actually want to copy those over and over. I want to use the same one. And so that's actually what's going to happen in most programming languages, especially C# and things like that. But anyway, I want to show you what we can do. So that value Cloud right there is the name of that character, and it's going to get displayed on a lot of screens. So it's displayed here, but it's also displayed up in the top left on this one as well. And if I'm on the equipment screen, you'll see that it, whoops, I meant equipment screen. You'll see that it mentions Cloud here, and so it's going to show that name in a lot of places in this game, and you don't want to repeat that. I made the UI only for this, so I did this little thing, so you'll notice that little color preview that I built there. sort of shows what the color of the menu is there. So pretty cool stuff. Yes, exactly, Katrina. One more month, and Rubik's will have the smiling adult Chatosaurus as well. So that'll be really cool. So let's go ahead and change Cloud's name. So for anyone that knows, Cloud has a big sword. If you've ever played Final Fantasy VII, you've probably seen Cloud as the guy with the really big sword. And let me just go ahead and do this. And here we can actually see some of the code that's actually getting run. So I'm going to show all of you what is actually happening here. So I have essentially, we're handling that an event that I created. So essentially what happens in this code is when we did that, this is a bidding for what the name of that character should be. So I put 500 as the value for what Cloud's name should be. So essentially what that means is I've said, hey, I really want Cloud's name to now be Big Sword. And essentially the top name has changed, is what has happened in code. So we're saying for the character Cloud, I want to change his name to Big Sword. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. And then inside of this, I have created a name accessor, which is my essentially service that is going to handle the renaming of the character. And I have these memory location objects which contain pointers to where the memory is inside of Final Fantasy VII. So this game over here, I know where the variable for that Cloud is getting stored. And so what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say, go ahead and grab the memory locations for where those are, and this gets me all the data. And then I'm going to take that string, that Big Sword, and translate that into an array of bytes that are the specific characters that Final Fantasy VII uses. Because it does not use ASCII or Unicode, I have to translate. So I have translated that code into, so big is B, so the B-I-G space, capital S, W-O-R-D, and then a 255 here is my end string character. So I'm saying, hey, end this string here. And that's essentially what happens. You have a pointer to the beginning of the array, you keep track of all the string values, and then you've got a, hey, this is where the string ends. So Sushnator coming in with the 8-month resub. That's awesome. Yeah, we need some more hype in the chat. I need to catch up on some of this chat here. Pointers are kind of identifier to an object. Yep. You plan to learn some basic fundamentals and structure of an object-oriented program. Ryan, so I am intending to do what I'm going to be... So in DevChatter, I'm going to be making some recorded videos that are going to go on our YouTube channel that are going to be in addition to our normal live streaming stuff. So I want to make some videos that are actually some of those basic concept stuff. So Ryan, keep an eye out for that, especially on our YouTube channel, because I am going to try to explain some of these concepts. Things on the list are understanding value and reference types, which is going to explain all the pointers and stuff like that to you. I want to do some stuff about interfaces to give basic explanations of what interfaces are, what abstract classes are, and essentially how that stuff works and how you should use it in programming. And then I'm also going to be talking about .NET Core and .NET Full Framework and .NET Standard and how those actually works. Stage Game, thanks very much for that follow, greatly appreciate it. Anybody else in here that's new and is enjoying the content at all that we're doing here on the stream, be sure to hit that follow button to make sure you get notified when we go live. How do you turn these concepts into code? You can Google the concept, but it will not show the code. Yeah, so Ryan, that is one of the challenges. That's part of the reason why I want to do some of these videos, is because a lot of people have often wondered things of like, hey, I get conceptually how this is supposed to work, like I've been taught the theory, but I'd like to actually see it in practice, and so that's one of the things that I want to make sure that we do some of here on DevChatter, is get some of that explanation to people. I'm not sure who's calling me, and I apologize for that being loud. So, I will mute my phone so you don't have to listen to that anymore. And muted. There we go. Yes, linked lists are very cool things. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Yep, there's a YouTube link. Good. I didn't get that posted in chat. Is it true if you get object-oriented programming, it is easy? Because that is what your tutor says. Kind of. Object-oriented programming gets much easier to understand once you understand the concepts. However, I wouldn't really say that any part of programming is ever easy. Programming is a challenging thing. That doesn't mean you can't do it, because I think you can. But I don't want anybody to feel bad for struggling with anything that's programming related, because it is difficult. This is a mind thing that we're doing. Okay, so anyway, back to this. I want to show you all what's going to happen here. So I also wrote this little helper that I call a memory accessor. So we are inside the name accessor, which is essentially the wrapper around this that understands how we change names and understands that we have this system of where the memory locations are, and it grabs it and says, hey, go ahead, pass in the address, the bytes that we're planning on writing, and what the process name is. So let's go ahead and jump into that, and I'm going to show you all how it works. So inside of here, we have write memory. And what I'm doing is, I am grabbing that Final Fantasy VII process right here, as long as we obtain it. So let's jump forward a couple here. We're going to go ahead and open our access to it. So we grab access to that process. So we're grabbing the Final Fantasy VII _en process right here, grabbing it, and we're going to call write memory on that process. We're going to pass in the address that we're trying to access, which this is the address so that's the pointer right there. That is the address of where that cloud is stored. And I am literally going to just write out the bytes of that information and then tell it to close. So that is literally what we're doing right here. And let's just go ahead and run it. Now let's jump back into Final Fantasy VII and see what happened. So now instead of saying cloud, it says big sword. And I can go into the equipment screen, it says big sword there, the status screen, and that all works because there was a single location in the game that stored the value cloud, and that value was not repeated everywhere. Any place that was needed, it accessed that location in memory to check the value. White space is I think a few things. YAML was one of the, hang on. Why does Python exist or semantic? So Python's actually a great language. It's actually the so a lot of people are like, you're a C# guy, a Microsoft only guy, right? Funny thing, I used to be a Linux and Python programmer before I even started programming in C#. But I do love C# and .NET and the Microsoft tech stack. Python is a fantastic language. It's widely used, has fantastic libraries. It is really, really good at what it does. You can do amazing things with Python. That being said, C# is an amazing language with a lot of libraries, and you can do a lot of amazing things with C#. I can say the same thing about Java. I can say the same thing about JavaScript. There are so many fantastic languages out there right now that being a programmer today versus being a programmer in the past, oh man, do you have so much available to you. It is awesome. So really check it out. Get out there. It is awesome, awesome stuff. Do I believe that you can get a CS degree? Ryan, yes, I think you can get a CS degree. I did get a computer science degree. I'm one of those people that has one. I think there is value in it. That being said, I don't think you need one to be a great programmer. I think that if you are someone that wants to learn a lot about the theory of computer science and actually understand a lot of what's going on and really understand that kinds of stuff, a computer science degree is a way to make sure that you learn it. It's also not a guarantee that you did. That being said, you can learn that kind of information by reading books on this stuff, watching courses on it, and learning from other people, or just diving into some of those yourself and reading documentation. Up to you how you want to get that, but a piece of paper that says you probably know how to program from a computer science program can help you get a job. So can going through a boot camp or any other things. It is also possible to get a programming job without having any piece of paper that says you know how to do it, by just knowing how to do it. But again, figure out your own circumstances, see what you need in order to, have gainful employment as a programmer, and go for it. For low-level language, I know there's not OOP, but is there some level? Actually, C++ does have OOP, and a lot of people would consider that a lower-level language, Ryan. Once you learn a language, you start seeing all languages as easy to learn, good for certain things. Yes, Robert, that is absolutely correct. Once you understand one programming language, it is easier to understand other programming languages because you can kind of start to relate what they've got. So, for example, if I wanted to find out how to, if I wanted to find the filter function that exists in JavaScript, for example. I might not know that that exists, but I can easily go in Google and say, like, hey, C# link where in JavaScript, and someone's gonna, and I'm going to find a result that tells me to use filter, because someone has asked that question of, hey, is there a way to do this? And you might not know that there's like a for or a for each loop. So if I know C# and I know there's a for and a for each loop, and I go into the Python world and I'm like, hey, there's no for loop. And then it's like, oh, I get it. It's only a for each loop, but because you can create a range that exists and is kind of the same thing, I sort of have a for loop. And so what you can do is you can kind of use your knowledge of other languages to figure out how other things are working in them. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can get once you understand some things. And yes, staged games, the rule is not going to apply to that language. Yeah, no, well, so Fuel's Enable, yeah, that's why there's some gray area of what's actually a low-level language. And I think you are correct. Like, where you draw that line is a question, but yes, I think a lot of people today would consider C++ to be a low-level language. It's certainly not a quote, high-level language. It is not a Python, for example, or a VB. Okay, so that's how this code changes. It works pretty well. We are able to just change the name, and for example, just to show you that we can do that with all the characters, we can go and change Tifa's name to Boxer, and it's going to jump in. It's going to run the same code, and again, one memory location change, and those values are changed. In addition to just changing it there, we've actually done a couple of other things, and I want to show you what that is. So notice now, as we play this game, so that was Barrett talking, but let's get to someone else. So it brings up dialog boxes for the conversations for these characters, and then the characters get into this combat, goes into this fighting screen, and again, you'll notice Big Sword and Boxer are in the party. Let me click out of this, and the game's going to pause. If that window's not focused, nothing is updating on the screen, so I should mention that. I can do this as well. I can say Tifa, and I can change her name to Punchy. And again, I'm going to hop over here. I'm going to remove this breakpoint for now, because you've seen that code now. You don't need to see what happens there. And congratulations, her name is now Punchy. So the way that we're doing that is because we are changing this actively while the game is running, we can put in any value we want. So it's actually pretty darn cool. In addition to changing that, we can also change menu color, and let me just go ahead and put it back to the default. And so there's the default menu palette. So we get full control over all of this. Now, the thing that I wanted to tackle today is something slightly different. So this code works. It's pretty cool. I can show you all how it works. And if you have questions about how we did any of what's there right now, feel free to ask. But I want to get something else running. So I'm going to go ahead and get this loading. And come on, new game, because I need to get a new game running. I'm going to let that go ahead and play, and I'll be bringing that up a little bit as we go. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're actually going to see here. Do you recommend a CS50 Harvard? Also, did you ever see Math with Computer Science? Yeah, so staged games is correct. Nearly all computer science programs that you're going to go through are going to make you take a decent amount of math. Whether you actually have to complete an actual minor in mathematics is another question. That's going to depend on the program, but they're always going to make you take a bunch of math classes. That's because for the actual computer science thing, which generally isn't usually the programming part of it, there is a lot of math involved, and so that's the idea there. There's some cool stuff that you can do, though. You may also find some degrees are joint with honors. Yes, S&B is correct. Some of them are combined. When I started out in college, I was actually a triple major in math, computer science, and physics. Yes, I know, I'm a nerd. I then decided that I did not want to go into the areas that I was thinking about doing, and so I dropped the physics and math degrees, which in retrospect I think was a fantastic idea, and I'm glad I stuck with computer science. But whatever path you want to take is entirely up to you. So this is a game that is, see, that 1997. So this is not a new game by any stretch, but it is cool because we can access it, mess with it, and do some things. So let's see what happens. So we're still watching the intro. Sadly, I have to keep this window active because if I don't, it doesn't play. I wish I could make the game keep running this. Luckily, Calc 2 didn't weed you out. Yes, Ryan, that is a good thing. Funny enough, I took Calc 2 with my brother, which was funny. He sat behind me in class. My brother's 2 years older than I am, and was in a physics program that required he take Calc 2, and I was one of the weird people. I was on the 3-year plan in college, so I did not have to stick around all that long. Alright, so here's what we're going to do in the game. I don't know why I picked up those potions, it's just kind of force a habit. But I want to get to a certain point, and I'm going to show you one cool thing that we're going to do. So we have to do this little part. First off, notice right now, this character's name is X-Soldier, and this is Cloud. See, big sword guy. He has the big sword. So that's how you know that's Cloud. And his name is X-Soldier. Remember, we said there's a variable holding just that value. So if I bring up the menu right now, you'll see his name is X-Soldier, not Cloud. Let me go ahead and open up a program that many of you have never heard of. And it is called Cheat Engine. And it is a really, really neat program right here, and this is designed to access memory inside of a game. Well, it really is intended for inside a game, although you can do it for things that are not games. It does some really cool stuff. So let's go ahead and look up one of those values. Where is it? Okay, so here we go. So I am going to, first off, search for Cloud. So let me bring that up so you can see the game. So we're looking for X-Soldier, but I need to pull up my little letter map here. So X-Soldier. So first off, I want to tell it I am looking for an array of bytes. I'm going to give decimal values, not hex values, and I'm looking for this series of bytes. I want to have an E, which is 37, and then I want an X, and an X is 88, and then a dash. What is the dash? That should be 13, I think. Whoops, 13. And then capital S is going to be 51. Capital O is going to be 47. Let's do a quick scan. Did we find any? We did. Here they are. Okay, so I'm going to add both of these as selected addresses. And now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and just extend out the bytes. So I'm going to say, hey, you found these spots. And if you take a look at that, you'll see that's EX-SOLDIER. And then notice this one has 255 on the end. I want to see what 226 and 72 are. 226 is not on the map that someone got me. 72 is an H. I don't know what that one is. So this is not the correct one. So that one we don't need right here. And the value that we actually want is this one. So if I take a look at my code, what is that? That's DBFD9C. You'll find DBFD9C, I think is what I said. Do we not? Oh, do I not have that anywhere? Ooh, that should be somewhere. Hang on. Where is it? Hey, welcome everyone. It is not an automatic cheat thing, but it lets you look at memory. Whoops, didn't mean to open that. Character memory location. Oh, right, it's not there anymore because I do it based on a base address and an offset. Okay, so I forgot I changed it to do that. So all of Cloud's information at this game starts at dbf d8d, right? And if we look at that value, dbf d9c, you'll see, oh, that's only slightly after. So where was name? Name is 15 bytes after that. So essentially there's 15 bytes of information starting that are about Cloud up until you get to his name. So then there are 10 bytes reserved for his name. And those values are those values allow you to have 9 characters of information with a 255 at the end to end the string. Welcome everyone. Hang on one second. Let me just see what else is in the chat. I was sitting. Lots of pointers on the stream now. Yes, Fuel Snibble, lots of pointers. And Digital Drummer, hey, greetings. And welcome, Menio522. Thanks for that follow, much appreciated. And as I say to anybody, if I ever butcher your name, go ahead and mention it to me. Even if I've been butchering it for weeks, just let me know, tell me how I can say it better, and I will do my best. I would say C# is a low level as well as it allows manipulating pointers. Fair enough, Fuel Snable, fair enough. In that case, a lot of languages are, because many of them can alter pointers. I think you can do that in JavaScript also. Okay, so we are able to change those values because we can find them in memory. Now here is what I did recently. I am going to load up a file, so give me 1 second. I'm going to let that bit of bytes disappear. Do I want to merge it? Oh, actually, yeah, we'll allow that to merge. Okay. So I found some additional values, and they are useful. I'm going to put them in order. All right. So these values right here, I did a little bit of searching through the program, and this, by the way, took a lot of effort. I tracked down where the default names are for all of those characters. So right now this character's name is X-Soldier, but I want to change it. So let's go ahead and change the default. And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make it, you know what? Let me just write it first and then paste it in there. So we're going to bring it over here, and I'm going to say 34 space 82 space 69 space 78 and then 68 65 and 78 again, and then 255, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So because I have this as an array of 12 bytes, I need to make sure that that maintains as exactly 12. So I'm going to change that value so that in-game I have just modified the memory directly. So that is one of the things that the Cheat Engine lets you do. Not just search for where values are in memory, but it also lets you go ahead and just alter the values. So I have changed the values at those addresses in memory. So each one of these values represents a byte of memory inside of the program, of which I've changed that. So this is an array of characters, so kind of like a string, but again, it's not a string because this is not Unicode or ASCII. So I am actually translating it. You're better off thinking of this as an array of bytes that happen to match up to characters. Alright, so that is changed. Let's go back to the game, which clearly, you know, this guy's name is going to be Cloud. How would it ever show up as anything else? And we're going to find out whether or not my little manipulation there works. If it does, then what we're going to do is we're going to build into our code that changes the name that we want that to happen. So let's take a look. So characters are having a discussion. Hey, this guy's in Soldier. Aren't they the enemy? Oh, no, he was in Soldier, right? His name's X-Soldier. So now we get to know what his name is. He's going to tell us. OMG! why are they suggesting Brendan as the name? I mean, I don't know, but that sounds like a fantastic name. I've heard all the coolest people in the world are named Brendan. I mean, haven't all of you heard that same thing? So this is the cool. In case anybody didn't guess, Sunamods, who's the guy talking in the chat right now, is also named Brendan. So he's probably a big fan of the fact that I made it pop up here with Brendan. So the cool thing here is, not only can we change the name, but we can change what the game considers to be the default values for those names. So essentially telling the game, hey, I know you really want to name this character Cloud, and that's the default, and you're going to suggest that, but instead, why don't we change it to this? And just to show you that that's really where that value is, and I didn't do something else to prep that, let's go ahead and change this character. So I'm going to jump back in that memory. So remember, this is Brendan, so what could we alter? Let's do this. What's an O? Hang on, let me look up an O. We're going to go with the weird spelling that is absolutely the wrong spelling of the name. So we'll go with 79 here, and that should change that to an O. Now remember, I said I changed the default, and you're like, hey, that didn't change. But this game comes with a little button over here that sets that value to the default. And when I click it, hey, look at that, it changed it. So I was able to swap from an A to an O, and now the game considers that to be the default value. So I can set that now to whatever I want, and that actually works pretty well. So we're actually altering the value that the game uses as the default. So it's pretty cool. So a couple of other things I want to mention. So in testing this out, I did actually check the value that's displayed here is actually temporary. So the variable that's displayed right up at this point, this Brendan right here, that is actually the same value no matter which character we're changing. So we cannot just alter this value and think that that's okay, because in a moment we're going to name another character. So let's go ahead and switch that default back. What did we say it was? 65? Was it 65? I think it was 65. We'll see if I remembered what the A was. Yeah, okay, so it's back to Brendan. And we're going to go ahead and select that name, and he's going to be named Brendan. But in a moment, the game is actually going to introduce another character to us. His name is Barrett, and we have not altered his. So his is going to be normal. Should be Brendan. Yeah, exactly. So one of the funny things is I was actually explaining to people, being named Brendan, I can tell you the way you usually pronounce the name, you technically could stick any value in there and it would still be fine. So this just comes up as Barrett. And again, because that was the default value, I can go in and I can change that one as well. So we'll just tweak one, right? Like we'll change an 82 to an 83, and that is going to butcher his name now when I go to default. So Barset is now his name, apparently. I don't know. but that works. And so that's the cool thing, is that we can just change these values. So we can decide what the game considers to be the defaults for the character. Now, the reason we do this. So in the tool that I've created, let's show you how it works. Over here, we have name bidding. And so right now, the number of bits that have been suggested for Cloud to be named Big Sword is 500. The name Punchy is worth 500 for Tifa. And you'll notice it's not currently applying. Now the reason is because we've restarted the game since we named them these names. Barrett doesn't currently have any other name suggestions, and you'll notice there are a bunch of other characters. Now right now I can go in and I can say Eris, and I can change her name to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wanted to name her Flower Girl, but I don't think that fits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it doesn't really work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I think I can get rid of it. I think I can do that and get away with it. So I can name Eris Flower Girl. And now that is the name that her character is going to have in the game. The problem is this. because I have not altered this value, that is still AERIS right there. When the player gets to the name screen to name her, it's going to put in Eris instead of Flower Girl, despite the fact that someone has, bid for that to be the name. Game bots and teaching one through machine learning is really cool. Digital Drummer, I would love to know what by game bots do you mean, like a bot that plays the game and is taught through machine learning? If that's what you're talking about, I agree that is absolutely awesome, and it would be really neat to build one of those for Final Fantasy VII, which is arguably a very complicated game, to be honest, because it has like free movement and essentially, I mean, you could just scramble around for literally a decade and not complete the game, because you can go do whatever you want whenever you want. That has nothing to do with actually advancing the the quest in any way. So, Cloud Flower, what is this? 1968? No. Fuel Sample. This is 1997. 1997. A friend of mine creates bots and then teaches them how to play games. Digital Drummer, that is actually something that I really do want to do at some point. So, oh, Stool Penner. Yeah, no, that joke is terrible. Yeah, sand, so coarse. Ha. Anyway, so that's what I want to change. I want to update these values so that we can change the defaults. So let's take a look. We're going to dig into some of my code and we're going to change it. Also, I should do this. Refresh. So I made a little refresh command, which reapplies all the names. So, actually, hang on. I need to allow his name to be bar set first. And then I'm going to run refresh again. Oh man, look at that 1997 animation there. That, back in 1997, this was some really, really amazing animation. Okay, so if I bring up the menu, you'll see that he's now Big Sword again. So it's not Brendan, it's Big Sword. And if I catch up to Barrett, you'll see that his name... we didn't change Barrett, so his name remained the same. Yeah, his name remained the same, but Cloud changed to Big Sword because I refreshed the values. So that essentially reapplies. That's sort of like a fail-safe that we built in, that like if you had to restart or something like that, someone could just reapply what the current state is according to the application, because we do have bidding for things. That would also apply the correct menu colors. So, also, let me go ahead and do that. There we go. We switched to my menu colors. See? Much better. Okay, let's take a look. So, those memory addresses that I was showing you inside of Cheat Engine, right here, that 0921CB8, hey, it's written right here. And then C4 and D0 and DC, E8, F4, D00, D0C, and D18. You'll notice I've already input all of those into the program. So I added essentially these values right here, and these are pointers to the location in memory where that stuff is stored. So I added that to our character, so our character little memory address helper, it stores information about where each character's memory is, has the starting location for those default values. So let's go to where we do our memory access. But I don't want just the regular memory accessor, because this is the one that's designed just to write straight to memory inside of a program and not worry about anything else. I want to go to the one that understands Final Fantasy VII a little bit, and thus is called our character memory one. So let's take a look at that one. So, name accessor, here it is. So inside of the name accessor, you'll see that there is a memory accessor, and that's the one that actually does the work. But we are able to test this because of the fact that our memory accessor accepts the data. Let's see. So we want to do some stuff with this. I think, since we're writing the same value both times, I think I want to take anything after this point and write it as 255. Okay, so let's take a look at our code. I wanna see. I think that I unit tested this piece of the code, this map string to ff7 bytes right here. I believe I wrote some unit tests for this, but I may not have. If not, I can write them right now. So let's go make them. So we're gonna call this folder. This will be core, and then inside of this we're gonna have letter. Ooh, you know what? No, I'm gonna put all these tests inside. Yeah, no. We're gonna put a folder for this. We're gonna do letter mapping tests, because I think that there's possibility that we'll do one extra. We'll do more than just this, more than just one in here. I think it's possible. So let's do map string to ff7 bytes should. And this is the standard naming convention that I use for my tests. I like to put something that's kind of readable as words. So I do, thing I'm testing, which in this case is going to be my method, my map string to ff7 bytes should. And then one of the other reasons I use that is because a lot of refactoring tools can find symbols that have the same names. So it should be able to detect that, see that that's the same name, and make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and make a fact here, which this, if you're not familiar with XUnit, that essentially means test method, but slightly different. But that is a reasonable way of, let's just do this. Do something, given something. So there is our initial test name. I don't know what it's going to do yet. We're going to figure that out, though. Stoolpenner, I apologize. I don't know. I'll kill the bot and restart it. I don't know why it's not running. Do something, given something. Do I have fluent assertions in here? Fluent assertions, do I have you? No, I don't. We need to fix that. Dependencies. Manage NuGet packages. Fluent assertions. I don't know what I was doing in my previous methods if I didn't have fluent assertions in. Miha, exactly. Do something, given something. That's what I'm testing, right? I want to test that it does one thing, given another thing. That's all it needs to do. Okay. So there we go. And we'll figure out what that something is in a little bit. Using fluent assertions. Okay. Letter mapping. So, letter mapping. Is this extension methods? Yes, I wrote this as an extension method. So let's include its namespace as well. So we're going to put this at the top. So we're going to say that. And then we are supposed to be able to convert strings into something. So let's change from a fact to a theory. And I'm going to use some inline data. And the parameters I'm going to pass in are going to be cloud. And then what cloud should become. So let's quit. And I'm going to start up that program again. And the reason I'm going to do that is because this is going to have cloud as the default value, and I can just look up what the value is by hopping over into the... And welcome, Dark Wahoo and Retro CRT. Thanks for those follows, much appreciated. So now that we're back in this, I can look in here and, well, reconnect to the game. Yes, keep the current list of codes, and this is the value that I'm looking for. So I want cloud to become this when I run it through this code. Kind of. So let's jump back into here. And I want this to be an array of bytes. So we're going to say a new byte array, which I think it's going to let me get away with. And then I just have to change in here, inside that selection, I'm going to change spaces into commas inside of my current selection, which is going to be this selection right here. Okay, and actually I pulled too many. I had the original selection right. Is it not like that? No matching method. Oh, yeah. No kidding, there's no method parameter. I'm like, what's it yelling at me about? Let's call this text and a byte array, expected bytes. So that's the text we receive, that's the text we're messing with, that's the results we expect to get back. So we're going to say text dot map string to ff7 bytes, and result equals that, and result should, is there a collection? Contain in order. Can it do this? Is it then take a expected bytes? Can I do that? Does that work? Alright, so first off, I happen to know that we did 12, and I want to build this doing 10. Because I happen to know, from having looked at the code previously, that in the game, we actually have 10 bytes of memory that we have access to. So, hence, I'm going to write it like this. Because in some places, we don't have that. So I want to do CLOUD, terminate the string, and then have zeros afterwards. Now, the 0 in this case is usually a space, but the way that the game works, if it finds a 0, then that's fine. And yes, Miha, we can absolutely do... oh, you're just saying hello to Dark Wahoo. Never mind. Feel free to be friendly. So let's go ahead and try this and see what happens. It's going to fail. Because this is not how the code runs right now. In fact, I think what we're going to get back is a bunch of 255s. Did it run over here? Did it run? Oh, it didn't run yet. Okay, still going. Hang on, I ran out of developer fuel. The caffeine, it's what does all the work. Oh yeah, no, that is true. Stool Penner, I do destroy the bot if I'm ever worried you're gonna win at rock paper scissors. That is by design. There we go. I brought the bot back in. Okay. Test Explorer. Wow, I really didn't write many tests for this, did I? That's embarrassing. I really should write more tests for this thing. That's menu command. That is not the one. I want to run this one. Why are you not running that test? Oh, good. There, it did run. Fantastic. Let's pull this down here. Pin. Put it in there. Test Explorer, pull this over to here. Let's actually be able to see some of these daters. There we go. Okay, so we expected to get that, and what did we actually get back? So we expected to get 2342. So it ended with this and put in zeros. So after the FF, we got 4 zeros. Wait, what? Expected to get back. Oh, wait. Expected result that. Hang on. I might have this backwards. Caffeine is what code is made from. Exactly, Simon, it is. Boomster DK, thank you. I'm glad that you're a fan of my streams. And Maureen, welcome back. Long time no see. Hello, everyone. That seems backwards. Am I crazy here? Expect the result to be. All right, hang on. We're gonna stop. We're gonna debug this. Debug. If I can make my mouse work. Alright, there we go. Let's take a look. Maybe I'm crazy. Unexpected check the test output. What? Debug the test. Why? Why, oh why are you not debugging the test when I tell you to debug the test? Oh, this is part of the problem with running the Visual Studio Preview, is every once in a while it does some crazy. So we are running the preview, because again, this is a WPF application. Oh man! Did you all see that? Because Visual Studio just crashed and restarted on us. Good job, Visual Studio. Way to preview. Oh man, that was good. Yep. Preview. All I tried to do was run the tests. That's what I get. What? Debug the tests? We can't do that. That's crazy. I didn't like that you called it out. Digital Drummer, you're probably correct. Yes. No, so I should be clear. I'm not like I happen to know that the Test Explorer and the test running inside of Visual Studio is receiving upgrades right now. So because they are actually doing that, it is more likely to have some issues right now. So I'm not surprised at all by that. But if I take a look at this, result is 10 bytes and expected bytes is 10 bytes. So the amount of characters does overlap right now. And then let's see, we have 35, 76, 79. So at 5, they become 255s. And what did we expect? At 5, and then there's zeros. So we expected all those to be zeros, but it put in all 255s, which is... I don't know whether it's a problem to have them all be 255s like that. It's probably actually safe for them to be 255s, since it's just the string's going to terminate and it shouldn't be using those values for anything anyway. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to assume that this is an acceptable way of it working also, and say that that is a valid version of, you know, correct. And so I'm going to say, in this case, I think the test we can say was, you know, not wrong, but able to be changed and still be correct. So I think either one of these is actually fine. .NET Watch Test for the win, yes. Simon, any kind of situation where you can just have tests running, whether it be through live testing or anything like that, is always nice. That's much more common outside of our space. In the non.NET world, that's very common. Okay, so this test is passing. I'm really looking forward to having a version of ReSharper running on here. Let's go ahead and try one that takes the full set of characters. So I'm going to say X Sol. Actually, do I want to do X Soldier? That's kind of long. Why don't we just do something easy like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to replace the middle one with a space. So it is C 4 times and C 4 times. And so then for that one, we're going to expect it to be, let's see, so 35 and 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, and then 255. Where's the middle one? Right here. So there we go. So that's that, and then a 255 to end it. So 4 C's with a space, 4 C's, and that. Okay. So again, I should be able to just run these tests, and that should work as well. Code work. Yeah, so Simon, there is a preview of ReSharper that works on here too. Now, I don't know if the Code Rush works any better than the ReSharper, but there was definitely, I definitely ran into some issues using ReSharper in the preview because it did not like the fact that I was running C# 8. And so, by the way, I'm running C# 8 in .NET Core 3 because I'm crazy. I love C# 8. There's some fun stuff you can do with it, so any chance that I've gotten a side project to just use C# 8, I'm doing it because it is great. I am really looking forward to having C# 8 available and .NET Core 3 available, because why not? It's good stuff. Okay, so when I take a look at this, that is another test that is just passing. So both of those test cases seem to work exactly as expected, with the 255 being the ending value that we receive, as long as I pass in 10 bytes to get translated. I seem to be getting back, as long as I send in these bytes, I seem to be getting back a string that is 10 bytes long, which is interesting. I want to take a look at this and just see, is this really passing me back 10 bytes? 10 characters. Okay. There's a thing I need to test. Hey, Crows 4K, welcome. Blue Spide, hey, long time no see, welcome back. .NET Core is dying, praise Blue Spide. I love the kappa, but you actually bring up a great point that I do want to make sure that I make clear to everyone. So, Microsoft recently announced a couple of things. First off, they made an announcement, and this was a few weeks ago, maybe a month, actually probably a month ago. They made an announcement that the next step in the .NET like roadmap world, the idea of .NET, is going to be .NET 5. And I want to make clear to everyone, .NET 5 is the next version of .NET Core. So .NET 5 really is .NET Core 4. Now don't let the numbers confuse you, because it's kind of weird. The reason they did that is they want to end .NET Framework. They want to stop and have .NET Core be the only thing. But what they don't want to do is run into the PR problem of people saying .NET Framework is dead and oh no, now I'm going to have to switch to .NET Core, and they don't want a bunch of business people angry about that. So instead, they went with names to solve the problem. And the idea is .NET 5 is just the next name. That's where they go. So Core and Framework both go to 5. No matter which one you're on, your next upgrade is .NET 5. It happens that the code base that .NET 5 is running on is the .NET Core one. But Microsoft has been really, really good about the upgrade paths from .NET Framework to .NET Core are easy to do, and the path from .NET Full Framework to .NET 5 is also going to be easy. I'm absolutely certain of that. They have built-in tooling for it, and because they simplified things, it is not a difficult step. So I think everybody is in a great spot. But remember, right now, if you're choosing something, choose .NET Core, because that is going to be the easier of the paths to .NET 5 eventually. So whatever you're building, use Core if you can. If you can't, okay, like still use Framework if you need to, but go .NET Core. Crows, we're not using Azure Service Bus for this project, though I have used it in the past. You heard about it in a .NET Rocks interview. I did not hear that .NET Rocks interview, but I'm glad that people are pushing that message, because it's a big, important one that everybody that is in the C# .NET space needs to know. We did it C#. Yes, Maureen, yes. There have been naming problems in every tech stack you can think of. I think as well it removes the confusion of are you on .NET Core 3 or .NET Framework 4? Yes, exactly. Digital Drummer. Yeah, so what they were worried about is if you called it .NET Framework, if they called it .NET Core 4 or .NET 4, either way, it would have gotten confusing, because some people were on .NET 4, .x, right? And so that would seem like a step down, so that's why the number is increased. So it's a number based on the people that were in .NET Framework, but it's the tech stack of .NET Core. So again, there's a little bit of confusion. Just don't worry about it. Essentially, .NET Core is just skipping a number. It makes it easier to make sense out of. Don't dare change the name, or your community will not be. Exactly. People are going to get mad if you change your name. Okay, so I need to make a test that is going to fail. So let's go ahead and make the failing test. And here's how we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so what value is that supposed to be? Where are the numbers? Where are the numbers? There they are. Okay, so 1 is 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 should be 9. Let me confirm that. It is. And 0 was 16. You know what? We're going to do this because I'm a programmer. I'm not going to make people angry. So we're going to do that. So we're going to do 0 through 9. There we go. Don't worry, everyone. Settle down. Settle down. Lower the blood pressure. I started counting at 0. We're okay. We're okay. All right. So 16 through 24, and then we want 255. This test is going to fail. What we're going to end up with is 16 through 25 instead of 16 through 24 with a 255 on the end. Let's see. Stage games. I just wish some of the hard dependencies on framework were easier to get away from. Yeah, so right now, dealing with dependencies and what the target is of different things is currently the biggest pain in .NET development. Because of the .NET Core .NET Framework split, that's why they're trying to end that and merge it back together. So right now we're in the world of, gee, I really wish your library depended on .NET Standard instead of one or the other, because it'd be a little bit easier. But hey, we'll get there. Trying to break away from dependency. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look. All right, bring this back. I don't know. Oh, because it crashed. So probably when it crashed, it didn't save where I had told it to put this thing. Columns, let's get rid of traits because I don't care. Alright, so this one needs to get run because it didn't for some reason. And it fails, good. Alright, so it expected to get back 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, but it actually contains, oh, expected that result to contain these items in order, but 255 at index 9 did not appear in the right order, because we showed 24 instead of 255. Or 25 instead of 255. So this one is wrong is what it's telling us, which again is exactly what we expected. So let's take a look at the code and see how we can change it. So first off, the reason for this problem, I'm creating, so I said max characters is 10, and that's not right. We're going to call this max bytes? Byte count? Byte count. Byte count? Byte count. Yeah, byte count. I can go with that. We're going to call that byte count. I'm going to do a quick rename of that. So we're going to take that full set of characters. We're going to do that. However, when we receive this information here, this text, I want to make sure that we do not do more than 9. So I think what I can do is say text see I want the lower of either. Well, actually, I want to step over all the bytes, don't I? Yeah, I want to go over all of the bytes, but I don't want to... so I want to force text to be... So the challenge is the length of the name is going to be 9, Stoolpenner. So the length of the name is going to be 9, so... I want to make sure that it's 9 followed by a termination character. So there's a couple of ways we can do it. If I just adjust text length, instead of being based on text length, why don't I say it is the lower of either text length or 9? So let's do that. So int char count equals the minimum, the math dot system.math dot min of either the lower of either 9 or text dot length, and then this will be the character count that we actually use right there, and then right here. Essentially what we're doing then, if we look at this code, we're going to say either go up to text length or go to 9, either way, whichever one's shorter. And we're going to say take the first 9 characters of the text and convert that to our bytes. And then once we have done that, then what we want to do is we want to put those inside of our array, and then down here we want to say fill in all the remaining values with 255. And then that should work. Should. Very, very simple, but should do what we want. Let's run this test just to confirm that it does what we want it to. Yeah, bytes.length -1 would work, except that that would break the other tests. Writing some unit tests for the current method and found out there's an issue with the code. Well, so a stool penner, interestingly, it doesn't end up being a problem for the display of character names. It only ends up being a problem on this screen. And the reason why is that character names, so the game actually has built in somewhere that what the name length is, that it can only go out to 10. So it actually doesn't even look for the string terminating character, that 255. Hang on. Looks like you could potentially have an out of range for your out bytes. Why not go over bytes on length since you already have set its size? Oh yeah, no. So the gankable player, we can. It's just I only want to be in the first loop. So we no longer have that concern because I switched us to this one. So the byte count is 10. I mean, I happen to know that, so it is greater than 9. So actually, this shouldn't be 9. This should be byte count -1. You're correct. So byte count -1 or text length, whichever one's smaller. So that is correct. So whatever the byte length is, -1 should be the value that we go out to. Should the test be different? We don't expect the 9, but the end of the array. Stool penner, yeah. So if they give us 9, even if they do give us 10 characters, we're gonna cut it at 9. So we expect 0 through. Wow, I crashed it again. More read. Yeah. So we could, as you mentioned, quote, slap some span on it. I'm gonna go ahead and wait for Visual Studio to finish loading here. Yeah. I'm just not sure how much we would actually save by switching to a span for our byte array that we've got here. I don't think it's actually going to save us much because we're not passing it around or doing anything with it. We're just going to fill in its values and then pass it back. I mean, we can save a little bit, but not terribly much. Okay, so in theory that works now. The test seems to be running and passing now. Let's bring up the code, and we're going to move this back down here again. So Test Explorer, come on down here. And Visual Studio, I would appreciate it if you stopped crashing, just for a little bit maybe. That'd be nice. So right here, that test now passes, so awesome. So it works. So essentially what it's doing is we gave it 10 characters, and it did not convert the 9. It instead grabbed the first 9 characters here, which went up to the 8, and then put a terminating character on the end. So that does handle that situation, so hooray. I want to adjust this and say... let's say handle string termination in byte translation. So we're translating our strings to bytes, and we are actually converting that correctly now. The next thing that we need to take care of is this. So because we did that, in theory, we can add in the next thing in the name accessor. So right here, we grab character memory location. We change the actual current name, but I want to change the default as well. So let's do this. Memory accessor, process name. This is not name. I'm going to say, I think I called it starting name, address. And then those are the bytes that we obtained from our mapping. So we're going to update the name and the starting name. So let's try this. We're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna do our first actual run of this code live and see if it does what we think it does. So we dug in, we found the memory location where it is inside of the game, and oh man, I don't want to be here. I need to be where a character is getting named. So we're gonna restart this again and let this run. Sadly, we have to watch the intro again, which luckily it's a very nice intro. We're not gonna run the music because I do have it muted right now, but ooh, pretty space scene. I'm gonna catch up on chat for a second. Let's see. Apparently we are trying to crash Visual Studio as often as possible. Yes, Stoolpenner, that is our goal for the day. As many crashes in Visual Studio as we can get. I think Monty Python did a sketch about spam. Oh no, wait, that was spam. Yeah, that was spam. And I guess close to nothing, but now you can talk about using spam. Oh yeah, Maureen, exactly. I really don't think spam's gonna help us here. If we really were doing some interesting stuff with strings, span is really cool. Do you have to deal with concurrent modifications in C# like Java, or does it have a built-in way of dealing with it? The gankable player, what do you mean, like that I might modify the same memory in multiple places at the same time? Do I have to deal with locking and that sort of thing? Short answer to that is yes. I do have to deal with it. Monoghost, welcome. Thanks for following. Much appreciated. Glad you're here. And if anyone else is in the chat and has not yet clicked that follow button, be sure to do so, as it will get you notifications when we go live here on the stream. So if you do want to watch any future streams, that is the best way to make sure that you don't miss them. C# has a lot of default concurrent classes. Yes. Yep, see, 1997. Nice old game. So, couple of things. So there's some other stuff that we can talk about with the way that I wrote this code. So, essentially what we do is we maintain lists of the bids that players have made, and when someone bids again, what we do is we actually lock down that, so we lock on the collection, add a new row to the collection, so when someone adds a new name, and what we're doing is we're just checking to see, did the, whatever the top name, so the one that has the most bids, did that ever change? And whichever one has been bid at the highest level, we're going to change to a new name based on that. So, if you're iterating over a collection, attempt to modify the collection during the iteration, it throws a concurrent modification in Java. Oh yeah, the gankable player, yes, we have the exact same problem in C#. Yes, exactly, gankable player. Yep, we have the exact same thing as you. Plutonin, hello, greetings, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. Okay, so, I don't know why I was grabbing, luckily I remembered not to grab the second potion because we're not really playing the game. Okay, so here we go. We have a character named X-Soldier, and the game is going to pause here while I do this. So, congratulations, Plutonin! You'll see why in a second. Wait, do I not have it running? Oh, I didn't connect! Connect. There we go. Congratulations, Plutonin. You now have the name of the character. So the cool thing is, I mean, look, it literally just changes mid combat right there. So that is what that little memory trick is that we just did. You just watched all the pieces that we did with that, and literally it translated that text into the characters in the game, and writes the memory directly over top, and we end up with that name. Now we're going to test out, did it change the default? And if it did, then we fixed a really awesome bug and did some amazing things for the game. Let's find out how well it went. So, didn't catch your name? Your name is Plutonin! Yeah, it is! Yeah, it is! Look at that! Boom! So, the thing we were trying to fix there, Plutonin, is, since you're here and I can explain it, the default value and the name are not the same value in the system, because it has what the current name is for the character and what the default should be when you play it, which is how Cloud has the name X-Soldier at the beginning, and then when you get to this menu, it puts the default of Cloud in there, so that, because you as a player didn't know the character's name until you got to this point. So that gets us control of this. So that's some cool stuff right there. So we now have that fixed, which is neat. So hooray! And real quick, Barrett 12 is going to become Suna. That's hilarious. Barrett's name is now 12, because I'm an idiot. Every once in a while I'm dumb. The Gankable Player, welcome. Thanks for following. Much appreciated. I will take that to mean you're enjoying the stream today. So Barrett's name should now be Suna. And let's find out what happens with that. So Barrett runs up. The hell are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Or targets the Mako reactor or something or other. And it's funny because his dialogue comes up without even telling us a name on those. Because the game's a jerk. See? No name. Normally there's a name. They don't give us one there. And then, boom! Suna is the name that we get for him. And we can come over and we can say, select. And boom, his name is Suna. But hey, maybe I don't like the name Suna. So I can just go ahead and bid higher. And I can change the name to... let's call it Gank... oh, Crows. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you for talking in chat. Crows 4K. And we'll do 20 on that. Okay. So now, oh, because he's not in the party. But his name will have changed. And if we look here, you can see that the name changed. Because he doesn't have another dialog box. He only has one there. So we can't actually see that change until I actually catch up to him, and I think, sadly, I'm going to get in a fight before I can get there, which I really don't want to. Oh, yes! Come on, 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 go, go, go. No! Blue Spite, I was kidding. Suna's here in the chat. I don't think his name's offensive. The no encounters hex code, yeah. Soon I am planning on making it so that we can temporarily turn off encounters and things like that through the chat. So other things as well. And what's interesting about this is I'm doing this for Final Fantasy VII right now, but in theory, this could work for a lot of different games, for a lot of different ways of playing it. So congratulations, there's Crows 4K. But if we wanted to change his name again, we could name his him Gunner, and then as soon as the next text box appears, we have Plutonin talking to Gunner. Hey, there we go. So, pretty good stuff. Wait, thanks, Stoolpenner. Can you break it by giving to... Simon, it won't break it. They can all have the same name if you want. You can name them all Cloud, and it will not break anything. So, they don't use those as like any kind of, like, they're not an ID or anything like that. It's just an interchangeable name. So it's just cool stuff that you can do, because we can just modify these values as we want by giving chat control. Anybody that is wondering about how we do the commands or anything like that, it's very similar to how I do most of my command stuff. So if you watched any of my bot series, where we built the chat bot that's running inside of our chat channel here normally, it is the same basic concept. I made an iTwitch command interface right here that has whether or not it should execute and an execute method. I created a little base command here and did a couple of nice things with it. Essentially all it does is take in some of the default values, which are the words that the command will respond to, and where on our settings is it's like whether or not the command is enabled. So I took that in as a little function. So you just tell it, hey, given current settings, can you find whether or not you're supposed to be enabled? So then I just pass in the settings and I say, hey, should this run? And it works just fine. And then an abstract for the execute, so everybody has to implement their own execute method, and then they just run like that. So all wired up with dependency injection and everything like that. Works pretty nicely. Yes, the Gankable player, everything is built for being able to scale easily. We're using the open-close principle, which means that it is very easy to extend and add additional features to this without having to modify any of the existing features. So quite nice structure for our code. Should make things easy to expand and works pretty well. What do I think is a nice / useful project for beginner? Trebinator, are you talking about like what kind of project could you build to learn about things? Because if that's what you're talking about, I can make some recommendations for beginner projects. Just in case, sooner bad joke. Oh, Blue Spied, got it, yeah, sooner, yeah. Anything can be a starting project. Think of something you like. Yes, Stoolpenner is absolutely right. As long as you keep it simple, and by that I mean like don't try to write your own Facebook, for example. As long as you go small scale enough that a beginner can do it, that's really the answer. And the key is leave yourself room to grow, but also make sure that what you're building is either something fun or something useful to you, because that's what keeps you motivated to do it. So especially as a beginner, you're going to want the motivation to keep working on it. And that's the important thing. Lucky, welcome, greetings, good evening. Glad to see you're here. Plutonin, you wrote Facebook? Very cool. Hey, J. Steph, welcome. And there are lots of places with helpful information, so if you do want to dig into that, Trebinator, one spot if you're just really wanting to learn the basics of coding and you don't want a full project yet, is go take a look at some coding katas and go try to write some of those first off, because a coding kata is usually designed to be able to be completed in an hour or so by a professional developer. So first off, don't expect to finish it in an hour. Give yourself a few hours and try to complete that code, and that is a good way to just get started with like the basics of programming, is to just run through something like that, and you can do it in any language you want. So they're pretty simple. That's not going to be like the project where you really want to learn how to do it right. For that one, choose something that you're interested in doing. So for example, I don't know, maybe you're really into Dungeons and Dragons. Start off by making yourself a little dice rolling application. You're not going to run that with your friends because they're not going to trust that you made it, fair, but make yourself a dice rolling application that, does different types of checks or something like that, where, you can have it do randomness on different numbers, and that'd be useful to you like that. And then once it does dice rolling, you could start making it so that you can add notes to it, for example, and you could like make session logs. And you could do session logs with that. And then once it does session logs and dice rolling, you could add other things, like you could say, hey, no, I want to keep track of characters, or I want to be able to keep track of my inventory. And you'll notice how the project can sort of grow by adding new features on. So that's a concept, which if you don't know D&D at all, or Dungeons & Dragons or any other role-playing game, what I just said didn't make much sense. But that's at least gets the concept of, when choosing a project like that, choose one that can just expand over time pretty easily. Yes, Stoolpenner, roll dice, just return 4. Slowly building what you know and understand. Fundamental understanding of how the language works is helpful for sure. Yes, good point, the gankable player. You can write your own Facebook, just write 1 bit at a time. Lucky's not wrong. If you do want to dig into that stuff, you can learn a lot building an application like that, but also don't expect your Facebook to become Facebook. The gankable player is correct. As soon as he talked about adding a string and an integer, I was like, oh, try that in JavaScript and see what happens. Yeah, so, cool. Our code works there. Well, there's some other cool stuff that I want to add to the program, but I don't necessarily want to get to it just now. So let's do this. Let's take a look inside of here. I will tell you, I need to refactor how I'm doing the layout for this application. I did not do it in a great way. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's just kind of, you know, almost like vomited onto the screen is sort of what I'm like, yeah, just kind of put it on here. Because I wanted to get some controls and get it out the door. Hey, Coated Beard, greetings, welcome, good evening. And anyone else that's in chat and hasn't said anything yet, welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever time it is for you. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day. A couple of things I want to make sure that I link while I'm thinking about it. If you're not in our Discord, you should join our Discord and chat with us. It's quite a nice place, good community, lots of friendly people, and code for most of the projects we do on stream are out on GitHub. You can find it at github.com/devchatter, link over there. And there are also archives of all of our videos here on Twitch, as well as over on our YouTube channel, which you can find a link to over there, and some other stuff. So, on this page, I just did this as some stupid tab controls. I'm going to pull these out so they're not actually on here, so this code is actually somewhere else, but for now it's just literally on the page, because I was lazy. I admit it. Okay, so right here we have a tab of menu colors, and on this tab we have color canvases from the WPF toolkit here, and that is what's displaying these little color pickers, which if you didn't see this in program, I will bring it up so you can see it. Right here, so I display that little preview, and let me connect to chat just so I can show it to you this way. Menu random. So it randomly chooses some colors. So you'll notice it just randomly picked these, and these are the colors it did. And roughly speaking in the game, it's going to make a menu that looks kind of like this. So this is my little preview that we put in here. And this just creates an image that I'm displaying there, and we just blended the colors together to do that. But this is the page where you select it. Now, I did random, but there's also some defaults in here. So there's Brendan, which is this one, creates that design. There is also default, which takes us back to the standard blue color. There is a Suna one, and so this is Suna's menu color. Suna has one because he was actually the guy that suggested I do a menu color accessing thing, and then I was like, you know what, I want to do name bidding too. So we have menu color and name bidding, and I haven't gotten to the other feature that Suna wants me to build yet, but we'll get there. But anyway, that is the color changing that you can see right there, and it's kind of neat because you can see just how it blends colors together and gives you kind of an idea of how it works. So these are the colors that it shoves in there, and cool. But what I want to do is, the next feature I want to do for menu color is let other people have other named colors. So obviously someone might want to have something like, you know, Mako, for example, might be their color palette that they want to do. And maybe it would be something kind of like this. I could see someone wanting this to be their Mako color palette, which would look kind of like this. So in the game, it has this theme of like these blues and greens kinds of colors for, you know, usually are like the materia and the Mako kinds of colors. So someone might want to do a menu color like this that was named, you know, menu Mako, and it did this. So being able to create these and save them would be useful. So what I'd like to do is on the menu color page, you know, or make, you know, like either put it here or down below this or somewhere else, have a list of palettes that they've created. So you could define sets of like named color palettes that you like for your stream, which would give some people some more focused things to name so they don't have to always do the 4 colors. So if you're a big fan of the Mako palette, for example, you could do that one. And then, you know, we could just do something like this and make a palette command, and they could ask for what those are. So if you were wondering, there are some additional commands, because someone might want to know what are the current bids for Cloud. So right now you can see Cloud right here has 10 bits voted for him, and that's what it reports back on the screen. If I say Cloud and we call him, you know, Buster at 22, then you'll see it updated here with Buster and 22, but in addition, if I call name bids Cloud, it now lists Buster 22 and Cloud among the available options for bidding. So you can add value to that. So if I, you know, add to Buster again, and I say Buster and I say 12, now it's 34. So those values increase over time, so people can bid towards the same ones and add the total up. So as soon as I increase the Cloud value, for example, so I can say Cloud, and, you know, add 30 to that, then it jumps to 40, and it's now the leader. Also notice that the names of this change as well. So Cloud, Buster, so whichever one has the top value is changing right here. So these are all bound within WPF. We're using just standard bindings for these. It works rather nicely. And we're using, you know, classic just MVVM approach, view models for all of this. It's quite nice. It was actually kind of refreshing to jump back into WPF with .NET Core 3. I don't know if people have questions about how I did any of that, but I can show you all the code for how that works. But that's what I want to add, is that feature. Whether I do that on stream or off stream, I'm not sure. If people have a strong opinion on that, if you really want me to work on a WPF app on stream sometime, I can. If I don't get a lot of feedback, and feel free to give me the feedback here or on Twitter or on our Discord, and just let me know, you know, what your thoughts are on that. But I am, no matter what, going to get back to working on our Dev Streams project sometime soon. A couple of other things I want to mention. As today is our 199th episode of DevChatter, so our next episode will be our 200th episode of the stream. So I don't know what we're going to do for that. I was thinking that one might be a stream where I do some just fun, like, question answering and showing some cool stuff. So I might do, I suggested in my Discord that I might do this, but we might do this for the 200th stream. I'm thinking we might do, like, go over the differences between .NET Core Framework and Standard, go through an actual good understanding of interfaces and various object types and things like that, and actually discuss, you know, what's going on in like how .NET and C# and just general coding concepts and things like that. So better understanding of the frameworks and languages that we use here on the stream, I thought might be something cool. The Gankable player. Oh, you're not really familiar with WPF, so okay, yeah. If other people are also interested in that, I can definitely do some WPF stuff on stream, because it is kind of a cool bit of technology. And the nice thing is that WPF, because it's XAML-based MVVM, that same approach, whether you're using WPF or UWP, for example, doesn't really make a huge difference. They work in very similar ways. So the concept would be the same. Design patterns would be cool. We could discuss design patterns. So I'm going to try to have some stuff prepped, but also make sure there's openness for people to ask questions and make suggestions. Something I did in the past, I did blog posts of, like, building common data structures to give people a better understanding of what's going on underneath the hood. So I'm planning on doing this as a live stream for these questions, but I do want to mention to people that I am going to be doing some like recorded YouTube videos for DevChatter. That has actually always been the plan for DevChatter. Back when I originally planned this stream back in 2015, yes, that literally is when I was originally planning this stream, the idea was that we were going to do some live content and some recorded contents, where the live content would be building projects together and doing katas and things like that, and then the recorded videos would be explanations of concepts and tutorials and things like that. So that was originally going to be the plan for the stream. I have not done any of the recorded content yet, but that is something I'm going to try to start doing. So we'll see how that goes. So any of those things that I talk about on the stream when I do those explanations are very likely also going to become a recorded video where there is a script and everything like that. So you can get a bit of the, like, hey, prep to make sure that all the stuff is right, as well as some of the interactive discussion stuff, which I really do love the live coding environment, because I can talk to you guys, you can talk to me, we can ask questions, we can talk about cool stuff. So hence the name DevChatter. That really was the ideas. We were going to chat about stuff. Design patterns would be cool discussions. Yes. Yes, Ancient Coder. I did Solid Saturdays a long time ago, where we did an episode on each one of those. You have no idea how much work went into that, because I made sure on our existing project that I was ready to, with examples of stuff for each of the solid principles, so that we could go into that episode and specifically implement each one of the solid principles at that point. So, like, prepping the code to be still working but wrong in the way that we could apply a solid principle took me, like, literally months to prep and plan for. So while I had a lot of fun with that, that was so difficult. People don't have any like, I don't think people realize how hard that was. Coming to WPF for the first time in core MVVM without a framework would be cool. Yes, Simon. Yes, exactly. Maybe work out a plan to bring extensions to static classes on C# 8.1. Blue Spy, that would be cool. Maybe also show how to get DI to work and basics of layout. Yes, Simon. So I do have. So we're actually using the IOC container that's built into .NET Core. So like the standard one that you'd use in ASP.NET Core if you just out of the box rolled it. That is actually what we do right here. I don't have it set up perfectly, but that is what's in here. So you'll see we're adding in our services right here. And I made a little helper method for registering the Twitch commands, because I did a little bit of fanciness with them. So to make it a little bit simpler, I made a little helper for registering our Twitch commands. But yes, we're using DI on this in WPF, so if anyone is interested in seeing that code, we can talk about that in some future episode. The open-close principle. I love the open-close principle, the gankable player. That is actually, I mean, that is like our strategy pattern-based commands here are the absolute definition of the open-close principle. A fairly complex example, but an example all the same. Didn't know it was difficult for you to do those streams. I'm glad you enjoyed them, Ancient Coder. Yeah, no, the reason they were difficult is because I was planning a project to have examples of this stuff just come up when it was time for Solid Saturdays. So yes, it was very difficult to do that, but it was a lot of fun, and it worked out so nicely because I'd get to each one and I'd be like, so, you remember that thing we've been doing? Hey, we're going to fix that. Here's how you make this right. We were violating this principle, and then, you know, it worked. Well, yeah, but that's actually why so for the later Solid Saturdays, there were like a couple of Saturdays where I was not prepped yet, so like we delayed Solid Saturday by a week because I had to make sure that I got the code to the right point where we were ready to have the thing that was wrong. So, yeah, but it was good stuff. Okay, let me do a couple of things here. Are you kidding me? Apparently, I'm not kidding you. Hang on. Wow, I'm the only one. How am I the only one? Let's see. Huh. Okay, well. Yeah, that's weird. Stool penner. This? Yeah, there's logging that we're using. The program does a little bit of logging. If you take a look in here, you'll notice that I add a logging command. And if you take a look at the logging command, here's the thing that everybody's going to laugh at. So the logging command, actually, well, let me show you this, because you asked about it, so I'm going to show you. If you take a look in here, I want you to notice that not only am I not, I don't have a try catch around this. I don't have any logging or anything like that. And the reason why is because that I actually have out in the logging command right here. So when you call a command, what actually happens is I call a logging command of your command type. So if you called the menu command, for example, I call a logging command of menu command, and it has in it a menu command as well as a logger. And what it ends up doing is I wrap the whole thing in a try-catch because we want this program to absolutely 100% not crash. So, like, no crashing. Like, there was a problem in a command, that's fine, log it and keep going, is kind of the approach that we've got. Like, if it didn't get handled in some nice way, that's fine. We don't want it to end, so we're just saying, hey, log out the error and keep running, because someone's doing a stream and they're live right now. They don't want to deal with that, so we don't want to send them anything. So, hence we did this. So, we just said, hey, really, really, really don't crash, was kind of our answer to that. Which there are a lot of programs that are in that boat where they're like, yeah, maybe we should crash, maybe we shouldn't. And a lot of times the answer is you shouldn't, and you should just log it. So I just logged the whole exception if we didn't do anything else. So, yes, so that is actually a very good point. So for logging, you can do it in one of two ways. You can do logging as an aspect-oriented programming method, and you can use attributes in order to treat it that way, and that is a totally valid way of doing it. Alternately, you can do what we did here, which is pull it in a dependency inside of a place that does not get bled around your code. So by putting it here, we don't do that, but you are correct. If we want to spread that logging throughout the rest of our application, we can take an aspect-oriented programming approach in order to avoid having to bleed that across the application. So for anyone that doesn't know, aspect-oriented programming is the idea that sometimes the normal channels don't make sense for a cross-cutting concern in your application, like logging, for example. So one of the ways is to use an aspect-oriented programming framework and use like an attribute-based approach in a language like C#, or you can do something like what we did, which is to use the decorator pattern and dependency injection to avoid having that dependency spread throughout your code. So there are ways around it. You can choose whatever one you want and make do. So they do work. How to use new .NET Core I configuration JSON config stuff for legacy framework code, which can't be refactored to get it from DI because it doesn't use host builder stuff. You want to use the new configuration stuff in... so you want to use the new configuration stuff in legacy code, which means you don't have access to it. I would wonder why you'd want to do that instead of essentially putting... so my initial recommendation would be put something in the way of that. So the idea being that in .NET Framework you might want a different implementation than you would use in .NET Core. My only assumption for why you'd want to use both of those is you're maintaining both core and framework and using a shared library or something like that. If it's just because you like the convenience of what the I configuration stuff does in .NET Core, I would say, well, why not just replicate it? It's open source. You can look at how they did it and make your own thing, and it should work just fine. But it's up to you. Pseudomods, awesome. Yes, new mic is a good one. All those configuration packages are net standard and can be added as configuration section providers. Okay, so they did get it all to .NET standard, so you should be able to use it. So there you go. Thank you, Simon. Either way, I want to go ahead and click this button and this button. And I want to remind everybody that's in here, if you haven't clicked that follow button, be sure to do so, as the best way to get notified when we go live here on the stream. And I'm also going to toss a handful of links into the chat there, including links to our Discord, our GitHub, our YouTube, and our Twitter. Wheatlol, yes, you are correct. You did. I want to thank everybody for hanging out today. We had a pretty nice Saturday stream here. I'm hoping that we are back on Monday. Now that I'm feeling better, we should be able to do some good streams. It will be our 200th stream on Monday. So 200 streams of DevChatter. Swifty Spiffy! It is fantastic to see you. I've been doing stuff with TwitchLib, and I have a million TwitchLib questions. Wheatlol, yes, there are VOD, video on demand, so recorded videos of all of our streams are available here in the video section on Twitch, as well as over on our YouTube channel. Again, links in the chat as well as down below the stream. If you missed any of our stream, if you enjoyed any of our stream, be sure to watch some of that. Keep in mind, we're going to be back, but also click the follow button, and if you want to support the stream, go ahead and subscribe. You'll get access to those awesome emotes like the one that Coated Beard used there in the chat. We have lots of fun emotes here on DevChatter, lots of good stuff, including dinosaurs that can fight each other, derpy dinosaurs. We've got a think emote and some other fun stuff. I will be swapping out those emotes because we have a lot more emotes than we actually have unlocked slots right now. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed the stream today. We did a little bit of cool stuff with memory. We messed around with bytes and other things like that. We took a look at some fun games, and it was a lot of fun. So hopefully you thought so as well, and I will see you all on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Happy coding, and yeah, take care. Wait! Oh man! Haha! Tricked! Haha! We're not really done. No, because I forgot to click this button. Look at this. Haha! It's the credits. Yeah, I totally remember to click the credits. I know how to do this. Thanks, SNB and Stoolpenner, for hanging out and helping to moderate the channel today. I want to make sure that I thank all these awesome people that followed us today. You were all fantastic. Thank you for clicking that follow button and making sure you get notified when we go live. And Rubik's and Sushin, thank you for those resubs. Those were like 11-month resubs or crazy stuff like that. It was awesome. And I will see everyone on Monday. Take care. Ooh, and another follow. Thank you. I actually need to look at what those letters are. LEQ PDB. I wonder if that's PDB like PDB. Maybe. Swifty Spiffy. Blue Spide. Stoolpenner. Good night, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you next time. Take care.